Dragon Age: The Veilguard is set to release sometime this year, yet the developers are still playing it pretty close to the vest when it comes to releasing information about the game. The one thing they have been willing to talk about, however, is the companions. They said that in previous Dragon Age titles like Inquisition, your character is the main focus of the story, but in the Veilguard, the focus is on the companions, and building a sense of found family, and that you cannot stop this threat alone. They went so far as to say that in previous Dragon Age games, the companions have felt like they're following you on a journey, but in Veilguard, it'll often feel like you're following them, and that gives me pause. Not because I have a problem with having fleshed out companions who feel like they're part of the world, who feel like they've existed before you came into the world and will exist once you leave, assuming they survive the story, but because I like my character to, in fact, be the main character. I want my character to be the protagonist of the story. I want the events of the game to revolve around them. I have no problem with companions being important to the story and having their own plots and their own arcs, so long as my character gets their fair share of that too. And old BioWare knew how to do this. It's one of the things that set their games apart from most other Western RPGs, where the PC is a nameless hero. They act simply as an avatar through which the player can experience the story and the world. But old BioWare changed up the formula. In those games, the PC isn't merely an observer. They are as much a part of the world as all of the other characters. And, most importantly, to me, the story revolved around them. Your character was the Ball Spawn, Revan, or the last Spirit Monk, or the Grey Warden who would one day become the hero of Ferelden. And they did this while still allowing us, the player, to determine who our character was. They did this by telling us what our character was, thus giving the writers a hook to play off of, but allowing us, the player, to choose how our character reacted to that situation, allowing us to determine their motivation and personalities. And this, in part, is what made BioWare games special to me. Sure, the companions were important and fun, but it was my character's story. But with all the emphasis that Veilguard is putting on the companions and the group as a whole, I have to wonder if this will still be the case with Rook. When the devs talk about Rook, all they mention are physical characteristics, like how great the character creator is, how many hairstyles there are, how many skin tones there are, how you can shape almost every part of your character's body, and all that's great. I love a good character creator, but it takes more than a lot of face options for me to care about my character. We're told that Rook is not extraordinary in any particular way. They're not a chosen one. They have no magical MacGuffin to save the day. They're simply someone who stepped up. They saw a problem that needed solving and decided, if not me, then who? Of course, Rook will soon gain the connection to the Fade and Solus, but what does that mean for the story as a whole? Is it simply a means to allow us to get to the lighthouse and to round up all these very special companions that we're going to be finding? Or will Rook have his or her own story arc, apart from simply saving the world? And what about our factions? If I play a Grey Warden Rook, will the Grey Wardens acknowledge me as much as they acknowledge Davrin, or will all the Grey Warden faction quests and dialogue surround Davrin? This was a problem that Baldur's Gate 3 had in spades, at least for me. If you played a Tav, that is, just a regular tadpole adventurer, not one of the origin characters, your character had very little connection to the world or the story apart from simply wanting to get the tadpole out of their head. By contrast, all of your companions have fleshed out pasts, and an involved storyline and personal arc, separate from the immediate tadpole problem. Sure, your character gets some flavor dialogue for their class and their race, but apart from that, the world mostly ignores them. This is most obvious if you played a warlock, or perhaps a cleric or paladin of Saluna. A warlock Tav never interacts with their patron at all on any level. On the other hand, our companion Will, who is also a warlock, has an entire story surrounding his patron. She even shows up and hangs out in camp with us. And despite the fact that Saluna is a major figure in both Act 2 and in Companion Shadowheart's story, a PC paladin or cleric of Saluna isn't acknowledged in any meaningful way in either of those cases. And when your PC is so obviously ignored, it makes it feel like they're not really part of the world. So I'm really hoping this won't be the case with Veilguard. I want Rook to feel as much a part of his or her faction as our companions do. But while we haven't seen a lot, what we have seen makes me wonder if that's going to be the case. The Rook in the reveal trailer is a shadow dragon. However, he has no idea who Nev Gallus is, and when he finally meets her, she simply shrugs and says, "Oh, what a coincidence." I'm not suggesting that they have to know each other personally, but if Nev Gallus is such an important person in the faction, you would think that most other members of the faction would at least know who she is. In the Game Informer articles, the devs did say that being a member member of a faction would open up special dialogue and maybe even other quest lines with the companions who are a member of our same faction. And that's great, of course. But I'd still like to know whether my Rook is going to be just a tag-along on these new quests. I also want my PC to have as much of a story as the companions do, and to be just as interesting as they are, because I need to be able to care about and be invested in my character, or I'm going to have a hard time caring about and being invested in the others. But what about you? Does the main character matter to you at all? I know for some people the main character in BioWare games are the least interesting characters in the game. They do care about the companions more than anything else. So let me know what you think in the comments, and if you like this video, why not like and subscribe for more content like this, and as always, thanks for watching.